My name is Hannah, and this is my no-buy year. This video is about how to survive the upcoming Sephora sale without overspending or without buying anything, whichever one of those is your goal. Now, I know that sales make everybody really excited, and everybody on YouTube is really excited right now about this sale. So I'm not trying to be a total party pooper. If you're in a great headspace with makeup, if you're in a place right now where picking up a palette once in a while feels good and healthy and 100% positive for you, then a sale can be a good treat. But if you're a person who's struggling right now with your relationship to the acquisition of makeup, and I know that there are a lot of you out there following me, if you're one of those people for whom the purchasing of makeup, even though it's really exciting and distracting on the surface, has kind of a dark underbelly. It might be that you have way too much and you're overwhelmed by what you have, but you keep buying more. It might be that it used to make you feel good, but it doesn't make you feel good anymore, but you still keep buying it. And it might be that you're in debt or that you're spending down to your last dollar on makeup when you should be saving or you should be doing something else with that money. If you're one of those people, I want to encourage you to shop or not shop on your own terms, and not to allow the sale season to dictate how much control you have over what you spend and what you allow into your home. If you haven't seen my first VIB sale recommendations video, you must go watch it. My 4 best recommendations for surviving the VIB sale are in that video, and I'm going to try not to repeat myself in this video. My recommendations in this video are more for those of you who have already decided that you want to change your habits. Maybe you really are taking the bull by the horns. You might already be on a no-buy and just be struggling emotionally with the fact that this sale is happening. You might be on a low buy and you really want to stick to your guns, but you feel like the sale is pressuring you to break your low buy or to push the limits of your no buy. My recommendations this time are going to be 5 strategies, things you can do, behaviors that you can practice before and during the upcoming sale to pluck the power over your behavior out of the hands of the corporations and get it back into your own hands where it belongs. Recommendation number 1 is to spend some good quality time with the makeup that you already own. I recommend long, extended bouts of makeup playtime. If you need to, set aside a good hour every evening during the sale and just dig into your makeup and play and play and play. I've been known to put 4 or 5 different looks onto my face during one makeup playtime session. Sometimes I'll even go wash my face with an oil cleanse and then come back and start again. Makeup playtime helps me in 2 main ways. 1, it really satisfies the craving to touch makeup. And a lot of times when I want to buy new makeup, I really just want to touch it and swatch it, get my hands into it, and advertising for makeup is designed to make me want that. So when I get those cravings, I can satisfy them just by touching and swatching what I already own. I think that the desire to touch and hold and wear beautiful things is something precious, and I don't think that we should try to quell that in ourselves. I think that the love of beauty is actually really precious and necessary in today's very challenging world. So I'm not trying to tell you that you shouldn't want beautiful things, but you probably already have a lot of beautiful things, and shifting that desire, that love, from what you don't have onto what you do have, it doesn't just retain the integrity of that love, it kind of bolsters it. It makes it more whole. If there's something that you really, really want, a brand new makeup item, say it's an eyeshadow palette, I recommend taking a good hard look at that desire, at that love, and then seeing if you can transfer it onto anything that you already own. It might be by kind of duping the vibes of that item, but it might also just be by thinking about how you felt when the thing that you already own was new and starting to juxtapose and kind of overlap those desires. The second way that makeup playtime really helps me is that it reminds me of the vastness of what I already own. I don't have the biggest makeup collection in the world, obviously, but It's a lot to me, and it's a lot more than I grew up with, and it's a lot more than I had a couple of years ago. And it's so easy to forget how much we have when there's something new and shiny in the store that we want. Sitting down for a half hour or an hour every night for a week and really getting into playing with your makeup, pulling things out of drawers, seeing what you can create on your face, it will really drive home the reality of how much stuff you already have. And in my experience, having that reality driven home is another thing that can go a long way towards dampening my enthusiasm for acquiring even more. Spending time with your collection is also a really good emergency measure. It's a really good immediate distraction strategy if you've got your finger on the trigger, for example. So say the sale pops and you put a bunch of stuff in your cart and you obsessively go to check out and you're about to buy it, and then you have a moment where you're like, maybe I shouldn't do this. This might make me feel bad. Maybe I can't really afford this. Maybe I don't need this. You have that moment, and a lot of times what we do is we allow the lizard brain of shopping to just shut down that voice, and we go ahead and click the button and we get the dopamine rush and we feel good for a little while and then we feel bad again. So if you have that moment, that precious moment of hesitation, take your finger off the trigger and go play with your makeup. Leave your cart and tell yourself that if you play with your makeup for 45 minutes and then you still want to buy the things, you can come back and buy the things. Doing artistic projects is very soothing, and it can help you kind of get your head back onto your shoulders. And then you can come back and make that decision with a calm, clear head instead of in a frenzy of compulsive excitement. If you don't feel like doing makeup playtime, you can also spend time organizing your collection. You could do a declutter of your collection if you haven't done that in a while. You could clean your brushes, you could clean your palettes and your compacts. There are so many ways to just spend time with the makeup that you already own, relish it, appreciate it, hold it, and get to know it better. If you spend all of your time deciding what you're going to buy next, you might not actually know the products in your collection as well as you think you do. There might be products that perform in a way that you've never discovered. There might be color combinations you've never tried, formulas that you forgot you loved. So my first recommendation for surviving the Sephora sale is to tear your eyes away from Sephora and to lavish that attention on the things that you already own. My second recommendation is to temporarily adopt a product in, product out policy. So product in, product out means exactly what it sounds like. It means that if you acquire an eyeshadow palette, you have to get rid of an eyeshadow palette. If you buy a red lipstick, you have to get rid of a red lipstick. And I strongly recommend being specific about the type of thing that you are acquiring. So you can't go easy on yourself and say that if you acquire a lipstick, you have to get rid of a lipstick. Because we tend to have a lot of the things that we gravitate towards. So if you're someone who really, really loves red lipsticks, but you don't tend to wear colorful lipsticks all that often, you can't buy your 25th red lipstick and get rid of that green lipstick that you bought last year and you never wore. The point of this exercise is to stack what you are wanting up against what you already own. So if you love purple eyeshadow palettes and you have a collection of purple eyeshadow palettes that are your prized possessions, but you've been wanting the Norvina palette, a new purple eyeshadow palette, think about which of your current collection, which of your current purple palettes you would be willing to remove from your collection to make room for Norvina. I feel like in a lot of cases, especially for those of us who have been on this low buy or no buy journey for a while, those of us who have gone through declutters and we've weeded out our collection and edited our collection, those of us who are trying to only own things that we really love. For us, the idea of removing one of those carefully curated items from our collection hurts. It's like, oh, I don't want to give up my babies. If you don't want to give up any of your babies to make room for something new, then that means that all of the things that you already have are better than the new thing. Not only that, they're better even than the fantasy of the new thing. And a lot of times the fantasy of the new thing is way, way better than the reality of the new thing. So the one in, one out mental exercise can be really, really useful in helping to take some of the shine off of the thing that you're dreaming about buying. If you have a bloated collection that you haven't decluttered in a long time, then you might want to adjust the numbers a little bit. So for you, it might be 1 product in, 3 products out. It could even be 1 product in, 5 products out, depending on what kind of situation you're dealing with. You will probably know what number is appropriate for you. You might be someone for whom it would be easy to get rid of 2 or 3 eyeshadow palettes in order to acquire the 1. But what about 5 eyeshadow palettes in order to acquire 1? What about 8? If you're a red lipstick collector, a red lipstick aficionado, and you are thinking about buying another red lipstick during this sale, what if I told you that you had to get rid of 6 of your red lipsticks in order to put 1 new red lipstick into your collection? Are there 6 that you like less than the one you've been dreaming of buying? If there aren't, maybe you should just keep the ones that you love and not worry so much about the ones that you don't have. Recommendation number 3 is to think about the cost of your space, the price of your space. And for me, I like to add the price of my peace. Your space and your peace inside of your home, what is that worth to you? Would you rather have space or would you rather have stuff? Now, I know it's not that simple for all of us, because something that you've been really, really longing for, say you're a person who wants the Norvina palette and you've been dreaming of buying it during this sale, or you've been allowing the knowledge of this upcoming sale to start you down that path of thinking that you might finally decide to buy it. If it's something you really, really want, then during that time when you want it and you haven't acquired it yet, it doesn't feel like it would be stuff. It feels like it would be a precious jewel. It feels like it would be your prized possession on a pedestal. And maybe it would be for a little while, but look at all the stuff you have. Each of those things was that way one time. Before you bought it, it felt like it was going to be your precious jewel. It felt like it was going to be your prized possession on a pedestal. And the more of it you got, the more it starts to feel like stuff. I feel like I have a lot of stuff. I'm not drowning in stuff. I've made a significant attempt, especially this year, to create space in my house. There's space on the walls, there's space against some of the walls. We try not to have an uncomfortable amount of things like furniture, but there's also space, little spaces in amongst my things. There's space in between some of the hangers in my closet for the first time maybe in my life. There's a little bit of space in between my eyeshadow palettes in the place where I store them. And there's some space in between my lipsticks in the little drawer when I roll it in and out. That kind of space, that's what I'm talking about. I really like Marie Kondo's recommendation to keep your drawers and your racks and your storage boxes 90% full. I think my makeup storage is a little bit more than 90% full right now. It feels almost stuffed. So I'm fighting for that space. I need space more than I need stuff, because for me, 90% full, a little bit of space between everything, brings me peace. That makes me feel peaceful, and that is a kind of lasting joy and contentment that is much more precious to me than the rush of a new thing. I'm looking at my eyeshadow palettes, my eyeshadow and face palettes here. I store them in a little acrylic unit where they all go in slots. There might be room for 1 more palette. I might be able to put 1 more palette in there, and then it would be full to the brim. So I don't want to put 1 more palette in there because I don't want that storage to be full to the brim. What I want to do actually is to take 1 out, because then it would feel 90% full. In a weird way, I feel like I would pay the price of the Norvina palette to have a Norvina palette sized space in my life. Does that make sense? Am I sounding like crazy bananas right now? I am thinking about like the little amount of space that that palette takes up. Right now I'm looking at my collection and I see the space. I see the space where the palette is not. That space is precious to me. That space is bringing me peace. And I don't want to pay money to have that space snatched away from me. This concept of the worth of your space is particularly useful when it comes to that bugaboo of sale time, which is the compulsion to purchase backups. One of my recommendations from my first sale video is don't buy backups. And if you need more information about why you shouldn't buy backups, go check out that video, or even if you've seen it before and you need a reminder, you could go watch it again. Say that you're one of those people who likes to stock up on a bunch of backups during sale time and save yourself a bunch of money. It's really not a lot of money compared to how much money you have to spend to save all that money, but that's a story for another time, or rather it's a story that I already told in the first video. I digress. Say you're gonna buy a backup of like 5 different skincare and makeup items that you know you depend on and that you know you're going to be repurchasing, but you currently have an open one of each of those going strong in your collection. So you're not gonna need them for a while, but you know that this is the time to buy your backups because you're gonna get the sale price. So say that's you. Imagine your box of backups, right? You get your box, and what did you save? Maybe you saved $50, $60, depends on how expensive your purchases were. But let's say that you saved $50 on that box of backups compared to how much you would have saved if you had bought each of them new when you ran out of the one that you are currently using. You take that box and now you have to find a place to put it in your house. You have to store it. Is it worth $50? Is your space, is your box-shaped space worth $50? Maybe your box-shaped space is worth $50 to you. Maybe you're really, really thrifty that way, or maybe you feel pinched for money. But if you're a person who was able to spend the amount that you would have to spend to save $50, then you probably aren't really that pinched for money. In fact, my guess is that what you're pinched for are space and peace. At this point in my no-buy year, I hate the idea of having a big box of backups and doubles taking up space in my house for months, maybe even years. And I would actually pay the $50 to have that box disappear. I have everything I need. I don't need backups. I don't need doubles. And if I run out of something that I really love, and at that point, I assess the situation and I realize that I want to keep using that product, I would much rather go to the store and pay full price for one than dig out a big depressing box of doubles and backups from the back of my closet, things that I have bought over the years, things that probably amount to hundreds of dollars of money spent during sales, dig through there and find the thing. There might even be 2 of it in there, and I have to figure out maybe which one is fresher. But neither of them is really that fresh because I bought them last year at the Sephora sale. I don't want that to be my life. Space brings me peace. It makes me feel free. And having space in my life is worth more than the 20% that I would save if I bought stuff during the Sephora sale. So if you've never done it before, this might be a good time to think about the cost of your space. Think about the price of your peace. Recommendation number 4 is the hard-hitting, dirty one, and that is to look at your yearly spend at Sephora. In my recent video about how I've already made VIB Rouge during my no-buy year, I go into depth about how to check your yearly spend on the Sephora website. So I will put that video up in the cards. That's the little eye in the corner. Click on that little eye and you can open that video in a new window. Sephora keeps really close track of how much you spend. Much better track than you can keep in your head. And what I recommend is not only checking how much you've spent so far this year, but also going back and checking what your entire year's spend was in the year of 2017. We have so many ways of fudging the numbers in our heads when it comes to how much we actually spend on things like this. Our brain is really, really good at helping us just look the other way and sort of elide over it and pretend that it isn't adding up to what it's actually adding up to. If you're trying not to let the sale seduce you, if you really, really want to grab control back and see things clearly, looking at that number, finding out what it is if you don't know what it is already. But even if you kind of do, even if you already checked it this year, or even if you checked it last year, going into the system and actually taking a look at that number is a good way to kind of douse yourself with cold water and remind yourself that it adds up to so much money over time. At the very least, I think it's a good idea to go into the sale knowing your yearly spend, whether you intend to make purchases or not. It's good to be armored with that knowledge when the sale begins. And my fifth and last recommendation for surviving the Sephora sale is to think like a corporation. Spend some time thinking from the point of view of the corporations. Think about what they're trying to do. I think the most useful thing to look at through the lens of what a corporation is doing is pricing, sale pricing. It is so hard for us to resist a good deal. But what is a good deal? Why is it a good deal? It's a good deal because it's a lower price relative to the original price. But the original price is something that the company has total control over. The original price and the sale price are controlled by the company. You are being manipulated. Your sense of it being a good deal and your sense of needing to buy it now before it goes back to being full price are created by the company. They come up with price points for various products for a reason. Things seem more special, more precious when they're more expensive. I mean, of course, certain packaging is more expensive, certain ingredients are more expensive. I'm not saying that it's all completely arbitrary. I'm just saying it's all being very carefully researched and constructed and delivered to make you want to buy it when it's full price, and then to make you feel like you really need to buy it when it's at a little bit of a discounted price, to make you feel almost desperately like you have to buy it so that you continue to check out and push that button, even against your better judgment, even against your will. Why would a company like Sephora have a sale? We're all already spending a bunch of money at Sephora as it is. Why are they having a sale? Is it because they need to move product? No. It's because they're trying to get us to spend more money than we would ordinarily spend. They're trying to get us to overspend. They don't care whether or not you can afford it. They want you to spend down to your very last dollar. They're happy for you to go into debt. The sale is organized in such a way as to get you to spend as much money as they can get you to spend, whether it's good for you or not. So say you're VIB Rouge, you go in during the sale and you buy the Norvina palette at 20% off. That means you save $8. $8. You're only getting an $8 discount on that palette and you're spending $34. In my mind, $34 is like almost $40, right? Say that you're paying with two $20 bills. You pay with your two $20 bills and you only get $6 back. You've pretty much just blown your $40. The full price of the palette is $42. So you're spending the money anyway. You're buying the palette anyway. You're spending the money. So if you think about it as Sephora, you're sitting there, you're Sephora, you're looking out over the people, and you're like, these people aren't buying this palette at $42. Maybe I'll give them just, $5 off. Then they're spending almost the full price of the palette. What about $6 or $8 off? Still almost the full price of the palette. $34, I'll take it. That's a really good deal for Sephora. And to top it all off, you're being tricked into thinking that you're saving money, but you're not saving money. You're spending money. You're giving your money to me, the Sephora Corporation, even though it might be money that you can't afford to give to me, that on some level you don't want to give to me, and you're exchanging it for goods that you probably don't need. So recommendation number 5, thinking from the point of view of the companies, is it's kind of about a shift in mentality. And in fact, we could paint it as a broader recommendation than simply thinking from the point of view of the corporations. My recommendation number 5 is really to think for yourself, to break away from the group mentality. The group mentality, part of which comes from YouTube. I watch all the Sephora sale recommendations videos, even though I'm on a no buy and I'm not going to be buying anything. I'm curious to see what people will recommend, so I've been watching them all. Mostly for me, it's just harmless fun. I'm in the 8th month of my no buy and I've been watching YouTube this whole time, so it's not triggering for me or angst inducing for me. I just watch these recommendations videos the way that I watch everything else. But I do notice the language, the kind of poisonous language, the sheepthink language surrounding sales. I hear people saying things like, the sale is a really good time to buy luxury skincare that you might not otherwise buy. Statements like that at this point just strike me as so bizarre, because if you wouldn't ordinarily buy it, why would you buy it on the sale? Say it's a serum that costs $100. If you buy it during the sale, you get it for $80. That's an $80 serum. If you're a person who wouldn't ordinarily buy luxury skincare, then you're buying luxury skincare during the sale at a luxury price, even though you ordinarily wouldn't. All that is the corporation tricking you into buying a thing that you wouldn't ordinarily buy. And I'm not trying to bash other YouTubers who are promoting this way of thinking, because I know that we're all in different headspaces surrounding these issues. And again, I'm coming from a place of rehabilitation. I'm really trying to change the way that I think and that I've historically been thinking about purchasing things and about sales. So as part of recommendation number 5, I will say resist group mentality surrounding sales. Think for yourself. Think about the life that you really want for yourself. If you're struggling to reorient your thinking, if every way you turn you just see your old habits, I really suggest hitting up the makeup rehab subreddit. There are a bunch of super intelligent users on there engaging and commenting and telling their stories. I will link the makeup rehab subreddit down below. I'm sure that there will be a lot of good stuff on there, good posts during the duration of the Sephora sale to help provide continued support for you if you feel like you need it. And that is it. Those are my 5 Sephora sale recommendations. Spend time with your collection. Consider a product in, product out policy. Think about the cost of your space and the price of your piece. Take a look at your yearly spend and think like a corporation. Take it as an opportunity to break away from mainstream thought and mainstream behavior surrounding sales and uncover an even deeper capacity to think for yourself. I always say at the end of these videos to take good care of yourself. In my first sale recommendations video, I said that the best, most badass thing that you can do is to not buy anything during the Sephora sale. And I think it might be worth considering that that could also be the way to take the best care of yourself. It might be that this week, not buying anything at the Sephora sale is what it means to take good care of yourself, so that you can be the most effective version of yourself as you do your work in the